So, without further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce This is another in a series of live broadcasts enjoying the creative sounds of music and harmony. Hope you enjoy. Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked. Tuned in and turned on.
Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro. Not just numbers, not just stats. It's about what they mean. And now, your host, the Maestro.
Hello, and welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with your boy, me. Let's get on it. Let's talk about building a franchise, building a successful franchise. What do you need? Quite simple. Rule number one, you need diversity. You need a team that is effective in all phases of the game, and for that, does the one hyperdynamic player help that can take you over the top? Yes, they do. However, there must be role players that will give the team an opportunity to do the same. How do we manage that? How do we go about that? We look for someone with the skill sets to fill in the gaps of what we need. If we have a bunch of deep shooters, no good if we don't have anyone who has a great mid-range shot or someone who has a good post game. Why are all of those important? Because you need ball movement in order to be successful. If the other team knows exactly where you're going and when you're going there, what chance do you truly have? Absolutely none. So those dynamics, those other issues that give your team an opportunity to be successful, start with diversity. Also, we need people who not only understand their roles, this includes the superstar of the team, by the way, but they must embrace those roles and learn to support the roles of their teammates. One great defensive player is not going to do it. Everyone should play defense. That's about heart and effort. However, in the middle of that, if all I am doing is trying to survive the opposition's offensive possession, because it means when we get the ball back, I have a chance to score, I am letting my team down 100%. Because in order to score more than the other team, you must sometimes, stop the other team. Simple math, right? So let's make that math real. If we have diversity, players who can score and handle the offensive game from all regions of the court, and we have players who can play defense on all regions of the court, we're up to a good start, aren't we? Absolutely. So now let's take it to another level, how it's truly measured. And those are the teams that are managed somehow, some way to go deep into a season, into the playoffs, toward a championship. Are all championship teams family? Absolutely not. We know this. We've seen super successful teams that held up trophies at the end of the year, and there was everything but complete acrimony and animosity in that locker room at any given moment. But that was put aside whenever those teams were on the floor. They were able to compartmentalize their personal emotions and do what they needed to do once they got on the floor to do what they need to do to win a game. That is a level of maturity that you have to have, which brings us to this point. All successful teams, no matter the sport, have a level of maturity. They're not wilding out at any given moment because A, I was not spoken about, or B, I was not spoken about enough, or C, why are they getting spoken about and I'm not? Those things we can talk about it any way we want to, and you can say it any way you want to. However, ultimately it comes down to this. I can have a teammate who is an amazing player. Ultimately, we have to work together on the floor, everything else aside. Now, when we bring the trash from the inside to the outside, we've now effectively weakened our team and weakened our opportunities and weakened our chances to be successful. And no one to blame for that but us. So Let that be what it may, correct? Now, lastly, we have diversity, both sides of the ball, all phases of the floor. We have maturity. This is the last thing you need. And again, this is against whether everyone in the locker room who's lacing it up are ace boom goon with the guy next to him or the woman next to him. There must be a passion for success, doing what need be done to get the job done. One of my managers told a story about himself and another player. He told it one way. Of course, the other player told it another way. And eventually, if you question it, you run around enough people, you find out the truth. So here's how something sussed out. They were going into the playoffs, and one of the rookies, one of the new guys on the team who would ultimately become a superstar, was not exactly carrying their weight in a couple of games in the first playoff series. And this vet, for no other reason than the sake to do it, outed them right in the middle of the locker room, making a point to say that they were messing up their playoff bonus. Now, he made it about the money. You can say what you want to say about that. But doing that the way they did it was what galvanized the team to pull together. The off-the-field issue was getting paid through this playoff series. The on-the-field issue was doing what we need to do to get to the championship. But they compartmentalized that, and those two were the biggest hugs when they held up that championship trophy at the end of the year. That maturity, that ability to compartmentalize, to do what you need to do to stand out. Remember, key point, to make your team successful. And that's how you build a franchise. We'll come back with some story time with the maestro and have a little fun, hopefully.
Thank you for listening to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro.
Want to get involved? Bring it. Drop in discord.gg/SimWorld NBA.
If you have the brain,
Join as a coach.
If you have the game,
Join as a player.
See the game,
be
be
the
the
game.
game. But now, back to Talk Dirty to Me with
The Maestro.
Once again, for the soul, children, string section of
Let's get back to some wonderful sounds.
And welcome back to the second half of this podcast. So we're going to pick it up where we talked about with chemistry on the team, that sometimes the chemistry on the floor does not necessarily match the chemistry in the locker room. I'm going to put 2 seasons in a nutshell. My last 2 seasons in high school basketball. We were junior year. We were on our way to winning a state championship, and it would have been 5 state championships in a row. And it was a legacy that the school was very proud of. It was something that was a big deal. It was something that had never been done in this state before. We're thinking our class, probably the first class in this series of wins, that would have actually won a state championship in basketball every single year. Coming down the floor, we always had a plan. Whenever we were down by less than 3, we would not call a timeout. We would press the ball up the floor to try to get the ball into the paint or get a good mid-range jump shot off in order to give ourselves an opportunity to tie. If a 3 was open, we'd take the 3. But that was always the open strategy. It was something you knew that was part of coach's plan from the beginning, and that's how we played it. Here we are. I'm pushing the ball up the floor because I got the long rebound, and I have one player to my left and one player to my right. And the player to my right, I knew, had a better mid-range jump shot. So as we're going down, even though the player to my left was all district, all state, McDonald's All-American as a junior, blah, blah, blah. I go with the sure shot. I pass it off to the player on my right. He puts it up. Ball hits the rim, rolls around at the buzzer, comes out. We lose. Would do it every single time. And here's how I know I would do that every single time. The very next year, against the very same team in the very same arena, the Louisiana Superdome, here we are again, down, 8 seconds left to go, pushing the ball up the floor, looking up. I'm going to insert the rest of the story here. The player to the left is a guy who he went on to play D1 ball. He actually had a shot at the league, and then he ended up playing pro ball in Europe for a while. And he was loud. He was a complainer. He was everything that just made you crazy as a teammate, but you loved the guy for what he did all the time. Daryl never let it go. We never touched our second place medals. We never touched the second place trophy for state because that's just not how we were wired. And he spent the entire year, that's the rest of that school year, all of summer, all of the next football season, because we played football too, and then into basketball season, complaining about me not passing him the ball. Man, if you had to pass me the ball, we'd have a ring, blah, 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 whatever going on. Now, he did that at every given opportunity he can. So I'm going to take you back into to the situation. Our baseball team won the state championship. We actually won the summer league championship in soccer. Move on, we won the state championship in football the very next year. The whole time, every time he was interviewed, asking him about where he was going to go for college, he talked about the ring that got away. That's what he kept saying over and over and over and over and over again, all the time, right? Just busting me out every chance he got. And it was my fault. I didn't pass him the ball. So here we go. Now, that's the flashback. Same situation, coming down, 8 seconds, look up, long rebound. I get it. Coming up, it's like deja vu all over again, right? I look up, I pass it right to Fred again. While I kept my eyes on Daryl the whole time, like, no, you're still not getting it. It's Fred. He has a better shot. He puts it up. Boom, nothing but net. State championship again. Of course, Daryl got the outstanding player of the playoffs and, of course, outstanding player of the season, the whole nine. They handed him the trophy, and what does he say? We might have won it this year, but we could have won it last year if my man gave me the ball. That's just what kind of competitor he was, and he never let it go for the rest of the time that I knew him, and even up to this day, whenever we come across each other, he reminds me of the ring that got away. That just tells you the focus of some guys, that no matter how many championships we won together, no matter what we did, he always used that as a motivation to be better, to want to get more. And even though, yes, it got annoying, I always appreciated him for that and was always thankful about that. Thank you for hanging. Hopefully you found that story pretty cool. Tell us about a time when you had a situation where you had a teammate that wouldn't let something go, even after it was long done. Let's have some fun with it. And oh, by the way, I think I still have those purple chucks that I talked about in the last podcast. So I might have to post something here as soon as I get them out of a box. Hopefully all is good with everybody. Can't wait to rap with everybody soon. And listen, it comes down to this. Whoever took Darth Vader's inhaler, please give it back, or at the very least, give my man a breath mint.
I mean, I didn't realize we were starting right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for checking out the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro. Drop a tag below and give us a piece of your mind.
So, see you next time and talk dirty to me.